Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Becoming Anchored podcast. My name is Laura Deneen. I'm your host for today. I'm really excited for today's content and super thrilled to have our amazing guest, Ashley Vicari, on the show today. If you're new to the Becoming Anchored podcast, we talk about all things body image on this podcast, and we really are about helping you move towards body peace. If you're in the state of Tennessee and are looking for therapy, we'd love to see you in my practice at Anchored Counseling in Brentwood, and then Ashley at the end of the show will share resources that she has with you all today. Ashley, we're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me, Laura. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah. I have been friends with Ashley for 10 plus years now.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Like almost since the time I've been practicing, maybe like 8.
Yeah, because I came on at the company that we both worked for, but you had just gone into private practice. Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know. We've lived a
and
lot of life.
I was going to say, life has lifed between the time that we knew each other or started knowing each other and now.
Yeah.
Between COVID and babies.
Yeah. Businesses, all
Businesses,
the things.
yes.
Yeah. So Ashley was really one of the first people that I thought of when we niched down to the topic of body image. And she's such an expert in this area and just has so much wisdom to share. And so today we are actually going to be talking about how weight stigma impacts body image.
Yeah.
Such an important topic.
Yes, it's very important. I was so a couple of weeks ago, I guess, I've moved to Kentucky at this point, so everybody should know that. I'm in Bowling Green, Kentucky now, and my practice is there and in Nashville, but I am working a lot with the state of Kentucky and went to the Kentucky Counseling Association conference, in Louisville, and just gave a talk on weight stigma. And actually, it was about weight stigma, fat phobia, all things like that, and how that impacts culture, but also specifically how it impacts us as providers and what we need to make sure that we're stepping into or taking away when we're working with clients who are experiencing heightened body image or weight stigma or fat phobia, things like that.
Yeah. So it's like fresh on your mind.
Yeah, it's fresh on my mind.
Well, first and foremost, let's really define what weight stigma is.
Yes. Okay. So weight stigma is really, so it's how we view certain bodies different than other bodies. So really like the cultural ideal is like the thin ideal. And so weight stigma would tell us that somebody that does not live in a thin body is less than XYZ, if that makes sense. So we see weight stigma show up in professional settings. We see weight stigma show up in, if students are in school or in college, we see it show up in the medical setting. We see it show up pretty much anywhere. It's basically somebody that is experiencing life, again, not in a thin body, and someone else's perception of them is skewed because of their body size. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I think that's like a really simple, beautiful way to explain something that's really complex, actually.
In my presentation, I had the definition from Boston Medical Center, and I'm like, oh, I don't think I can remember that word for word. So yes, those are my hopefully simplified version of explaining that.
Well, yeah, and I think sometimes that goes over people's heads. I know when I'm learning about something new, and if there's a bunch of jargon in it, I might not really understand what someone is talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I hear you saying there's no area of our lives where weight stigma is not present, both professionally or personally. And it's really everywhere. We talk about this a lot with the concept of diet culture too, which you could argue that weight stigma and diet culture kind of go hand in hand. But that it's everywhere. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and you use the word less than. I mean, clients of mine or experiences that I've heard about or been through or witnessed in clients, it's less than lazy.
Yeah.
Like those are some of the like shame-based kind of words that we'll see show up in our offices.
Yes. And so that feeling, so also with body image, it's the perceived, like it's how we perceive others to perceive us. Okay. Yeah. If that makes sense. And so when we feel that others are viewing us in a way that is not, that others aren't getting viewed as simply because of our body size, it brings on that sense of shame, and it brings on that sense of I'm less than. It brings on that sense of I have to work on something that nobody else does simply because I live in a larger body. And weight stigma might show up like folks that live in larger bodies, at any area of their life have likely had the thought that like I'm not good enough based on the cultural messaging that like, especially, and I'll say like some of it starts from like the medical community down.
Yeah.
But like the standard ideal or the thin ideal that like we should all strive and attain to be a certain size and a certain shape. But what it doesn't account for is genetics. What it doesn't account for is just like our lives in general, like the differences that we experience. I mean, we're all different heights. We have different hair color. We have different eye color. You know, what makes having a different body size and shape so important? I'm sure you've talked about this concept on here, but the concept of health at every size, like we can absolutely find health in everybody at any size, right? And certainly everybody at any size can also be unhealthy. But like one of the things I like to point out is, so I'm sure you're familiar with the term BMI, body mass index, right?
Yeah.
And I believe it was in 98 when the change shifted from, I don't remember all the percentages, but basically somebody that was in like the normal weight range in 98, like they shifted the percentages down. So that person in the normal weight range woke up and was in the obese category, like the very next day. And that really, I don't want to say that started weight stigma, but that BMI is a tool that is used predominantly like everywhere, really, especially by the medical community. And so we look at that, we focus on that. And so somebody that really we might view as being in a normal body may be categorized as overweight or obese. And also, I will say, in my work and in the eating disorder community, that word obesity, we don't even want to use, right? Yeah. In my presentation, I was kind of educating the providers that were in there, and I shared that with them and used the phrase or the term OBX just so that we don't even like acknowledge that word, because that word carries with it so much shame and stigma, and like it's an unnecessary word.
Sure. And I think a lot of times individuals feel defined by that word.
Yes. Yeah.
Or limited by that word, shamed by that word. So I love that you're part of the like movement towards change in that regard.
Yeah.
But I mean, referencing BMI, I am pretty sure that when we were growing up in our like high school PE class, we probably like got a piece of paper or did some sort of test where our BMI was like shown to us or our parents, and it's
shown
like,
to us and everybody else in the class.
Right. And it's like, looking back on that, like, is a PE teacher qualified to tell like 15-year-old Laura, who by the way had an eating disorder at this time, right, that I was healthy or unhealthy? And there's such a dichotomy too, even in those words, right? Like,
well, and based on nothing else other than your BMI.
Weight
that's exactly what weight stigma is.
Yeah.
It's based on nothing other than the body that you're living in.
Right.
And like I have a client right now who lives in a larger body. She does not like that she lives in a larger body and has really tried all sorts of things to get out of that larger body, largely due to the shame that she feels presently around her. She has had like a hurt knee for probably the last 6 to 8 months. And guess what? because of weight stigma, this fear of being judged or this fear of going somewhere and being told, well, the thing that you need to do to make you feel better is to lose weight. She has not gone to the doctor. She's had like a busted knee. She has been in a brace and she refuses to go to the doctor because she is so scared of the shame and the messaging that's going to come to her that says you need to lose weight and that's what's going to make you feel better.
Right. And I mean, it's, in my opinion, poor healthcare practice, right? Because it's a lack of curiosity, right? And I'm not a doctor, right? Like, I can only imagine all of the schooling and different pieces that they have to be aware of. Like, even somebody that specializes, what is that, like an orthopedist?
Yeah.
That would specialize in helping.
Right, which she's not even going to that. She's
right,
just
like her primary care.
Even scared of her primary care, yeah.
Yeah. But I think whether it's an orthopedist or primary care, there is a lack of a posture of like humility and curiosity of like, tell me about your experience or experiences, or even the simple question of like, how is your relationship with food in your body?
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like there's such a like an assumptive type practice that happens. And I know that like I will give them benefit of the doubt in terms of like they are overscheduled. There's a lot that's wrong with our healthcare system, right? Sure. Now, what doesn't need to be happening is them placing weight stigma on their clients or on their patients without asking appropriate questions first and giving the patient a chance to respond with their lived experiences.
Yeah. And I want to point out, like, obviously this is not just in the medical community, right? We really see this across the board. And I'd love to give another example.
Yes.
So there's an influencer on Instagram that I follow. Her name is Jamie Weisberg. I think she's amazing. She lives in Canada and she lives in a large body. All right. She will acknowledge that she does not have like great body image, meaning she does not necessarily care for, not that she doesn't care for herself, but like she doesn't like the body that she lives in. However, she is not going to let that stop her from living her life.
Yeah.
And that's very important to her. And she is like living it very well. And so I would encourage anybody to follow her because she really touches on what weight stigma is from a lived experience and is like vocalizing it, constantly, daily. So anyway, a couple of things. So I actually used to run a podcast too, and Jamie was on the podcast, and she was sharing this story where she had been speaking to a Black woman about whatever they were talking about, and the Black woman shared that she was connecting with ChatGPT to try to get essentially like AI to create an image of her. And the Black woman was putting in into ChatGPT, give me a picture of an executive, CEO, powerful Black woman. And the AI, the ChatGPT, whatever, kept bringing back like white women. Like it was, and even maybe they gave some like a tan skin tone, but like it was all like she kept being whitewashed essentially the entire time. And so Jamie's listening to this story and she's like, I'm curious. I want to do something too. And so she puts in there, give me a powerful executive white woman, I guess, because Jamie is white. And the picture that they gave her was thin, like a thin woman. And she was like, oh, and she probably put a woman in a large body. And they kept giving her a thin picture of herself back. And so like that, like we basically influence what AI has created, and what AI shares with us. And so like even that, to see how ingrained weight stigma or like the thin ideal is even into artificial intelligence. Like that has got to tell us something about what we value as a culture and as a society.
Well, it's like the meaning that we attribute to people's bodies, right? Like this means that they're successful.
Yeah.
This means that they have
so
it
that's
together.
The same thing. Right.
And I hadn't heard about AI, but I can't unfortunately say that I'm super surprised to hear that story. Right. But yeah, this means they're successful. This means that they must have it all together. They're ducks in a row, whatever, versus somebody in a larger body. Like, why can't they be a successful CEO?
Right.
But you're right. It is so deeply ingrained. And even like our parents or grandparents' generation, like, I think that we are making progress, right? Because I think that we're talking about it openly, even on podcasts like mine or like the podcast that you used to do. Yeah. And we still have a very long ways to go.
Yes, we do. We, okay, so another influencer kind of in the eating disorder community, a woman named Virgie Tovar. Do you know Virgie?
Yes.
Okay. Virgie Tovar, she's on Instagram as well, or probably TikTok. I don't do anything but Instagram, so I don't know.
Same.
I'm like the older millennial that I like literally can't work TikTok. And
I don't even know how to like use it.
Yeah, same. So she put up a graphic yesterday, I think I saw it, and it was like how the introduction of the GLP-1 medications has even shaped or continued to like infiltrate weight stigma or continue to infiltrate folks that have had eating disorders in the past and were like getting to a place of feeling comfortable with themselves. And again, I want to highlight with body image, that doesn't mean that you have to like love every ounce of who you are and how you look. That doesn't mean you have to be in that space to be comfortable with your body or to be able to move forward in life.
Like does to take care of your body, to have like a really full and meaningful life. Yeah.
So the statistic that she shared, the question was, and I don't know how many folks this reached. I don't know what the survey range was, but the question was, how have the introduction of GLP-1s and this shift to weight loss, how has that affected your recovery with body image? Or has it? I guess it wasn't how, it was has it. 98% of folks said that it had affected them like extremely.
I'm sure. High. Like, how could it not? Right? How could it not?
Yeah.
Just even like when you turn on the TV, right? Like you're going to see advertisements, commercials for these medications, right? And for the record, like I know Ashley very well. For our listeners today, if you are taking a GLP-1 or if you know someone who is, we do not shame you.
Absolutely. That's not what that is about.
Right.
Right.
And that is a complex like choice and decision, right? So we both practice through like a trauma-informed lens. We both, I think, do a fairly good job of like showing up with curiosity and humility to our clients and their lived experiences. And I think it's still important to talk about the intersection. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And you know, have curiosity about how these medications and how this new introduction of this type of medication is impacting people and their body image. Because of course it is. And we don't want to just like have an elephant in the room that we're not addressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it begs the question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it shows up. Weight stigma shows up like across the gamut of our lives. It's really hard to go somewhere where it's not something that is discussed or something that's looked at. There's one of the things that I encouraged when I was doing the talk the other day was Harvard has it's an implicit association or implicit bias. Have you seen the test?
No.
Okay. I'll give the resource if you guys want to put it up. So Harvard has this like implicit bias test. I think they call it IAT, implicit association test. But basically for us to discover our bias. And one of their tests is on weight stigma. And I took the test, and then they give you your result where you fall within the broad spectrum of categories, and it's like strongly prefer thin people to strongly prefer people in larger bodies. And the bulk of answers, and there have been millions of people. They've had these tests up for years at this point. I first heard about this in 2020 when my work at the time, we were doing implicit bias with race, and kind of working through that. But they also, like I said, have the weight stigma one. And so the bulk of the answers are in the prefer the thin body or slightly prefer the thin body, things like that, to prefer the larger body. So even to say, like, it sits with us. I mean, it's stuff that's like, like being a young child and like playing with Barbie dolls, or even, I don't know if you guys have discussed this on the podcast yet, but like, so if you look at G.I. Joes, have you ever talked about this on the podcast? Okay. So if you look at G.I. Joes, like the original G.I. Joe doll that was created in the 70s. Okay, if you were to scale him to life right now, he'd be about 5'10", which isn't, I mean, it's fine. Tall. I mean, it's right? Kind of average, right? It's average, right? So he'd be about 5'10". His face was like fully covered. He had like a full beard and everything. The clothing that he wore was like green, like army, canvas clothing, all the way down, like baggy jacket, baggy pants. I think he had a canteen of water on him. All right. Do you know what the G.I. Joe dolls look like now?
Oh, I'm sure. I can only imagine.
They often, so first of all, the clothes are like painted on them. The reason they are painted is so that they can sculpt the dolls' bodies to show the muscles. And so like I always do this for like muscular men, but like the painted muscles are on there. Yeah. The chests are really puffed out. They're significantly taller. They're like, 6'2" or something. I don't know. I don't really know height. I'm short. But they're significantly taller. They're significantly more muscular. And they're also carrying like machinery and weapons with them. So like the whole air is completely different. And that is just one example of how, again, we see weight stigma show up, right? Yeah. And how we make those associations that thinness or like muscular folks, that's the ideal. Like that's what we want to go to. That imaging starts very young. I mean, you and I both have kids. My daughter is 4 and, she's into Barbie playing right now. Yeah. She's also into makeup. Yeah. And I want her like that. Sure. She's also in a dance class, and like I want her to explore absolutely anything that makes her happy. She also is very much loving Princess Jasmine right now. Love it. And so she likes to pull her shirts up, you know, and have her belly stick out. And I want her to do that. I want her to explore and experience life without any kind of stigma attached to that.
Or like rules.
Or rules, right.
How I should show up in the world.
Right. Yeah. And so I have another provider friend who reached out to me recently and was like, so my daughter is 5, and guess what? She came home and she said she was fat. And like, she obviously, like, she had thoughts about it. She said that they were talking about it at school. And my friend was like, what do I do with this? And my encouragement was to say things like, well, so my presentation also was called Fat is Not a Dirty Word. Yeah. Right? So my encouragement to her was to say, isn't it incredible that we can all show up in different sizes and shapes of bodies? Isn't it great that we can have differences, we can be diverse, we can show up as we are? Like, isn't that wonderful? And so using that language, and even, so here's another thing, if you don't mind. Yeah. So with even the word fat, so weight stigma also shows up in this way. Yep. If one of our kiddos looked at us and said, Mommy, why is that person fat? Or why is that person so fat? And we were to say, oh, no, don't say that. That is also weight stigma. Right. Fat people can exist. Yeah. Thin people can exist. To say, oh, no, don't say that. That might hurt their feelings. Like, what that teaches them is that the word fat or the body shape of fat is bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just did a post on this. With my daughter. Yeah, like, it was basically, the title of the post was why I don't reassure my daughter that she's not fat. Yeah. Right? And so
It's so funny. I didn't even see it.
Yeah. I fully agree with everything you're saying. And I think Ashley's just doing such a beautiful job, like, highlighting all the kind of nooks and crannies or crevices, if you will, where weight stigma shows up. Yeah. moving forward, like if I'm listening today, my thought might be like, okay, well, what do we do about it? Right? Which you've given some examples, right?
Yeah.
Of like noticing the language that you're using with yourself, with friends, colleagues, or maybe your children.
Yeah.
I think unlearning is a lot of the work too, right? Like, and I know we've done certainly our own therapy, and I think being in practice too, like, and entering into client stories is such an important piece of this work too. But unlearning your own weight stigma, if it's there, and it sounds like that Harvard study does have quite a bit of data there.
Yeah.
So that would be a wonderful place to start. I mean, I think those are the two pieces that I hear you talking about today. What else would you recommend to someone listening?
Yeah. I think the first piece is to acknowledge where your bias begins. And that can be really hard. People can say, I don't, anybody can join. And then, like, again, I would highly recommend anybody to take that Harvard test. Because I think that that's going to give you some information about yourself that you weren't quite sure about.
Well, and it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
Right, which is why a lot of people don't want to do it, because it exposes our stuff.
Right.
So,
So just practicing growing in your awareness, practice noticing, you know, are you engaging in things or are you not because of a fear of your body changing? So if you, for example, and this is kind of on the food aspect of it, but like if you were at a birthday party, you know, on a Friday night and pizza and cake was served, are you able to then wake up on Saturday morning and engage in breakfast, or even go to brunch with friends and order what you would normally order without thinking about your meal from last night? Does that make sense? I mean, like that bias is showing up there already. Another thing that I might encourage, and I've learned this through all my work too, is so like if you're trying on clothes and they're not fitting, they're not working. So instead of saying things like this, does that fit you? Does that, or that's not fitting me anymore? Saying things like, this isn't working for my body anymore, right? Like I'm a body and I can fit into anything I want to, but like this is not working for me anymore. So even starting that, shifting that language internally, and just notice how that feels. And where you go from there. And so when you can start shifting the internal language, which when I'm giving talks to providers, it's like, can you engage in the stuff that we're asking our clients to do? Well,
and I'll share an example, right? Like I acknowledge I'm recovered from an eating disorder. I have been for a long time at this point, but I am in a thin body. And I have clients of all backgrounds, bodies, right? And so this is a lot of the work that I will do is I will preemptively bring this to the table. Because I want them to feel safety with me.
Yes.
Right? And I will acknowledge, like, hey, I don't understand fully your lived experience. But you know what? It took me time and unlearning to get there. So that my own shame or my own fear didn't block me from having this moment of connection with the person. And even inviting in, like, what it's like to, like, have me as a body image therapist for that person, right? So it's like... And then we're able to do like just some of that more nuanced, layered work there. And I think it's so important.
I would say also just a couple of people to maybe look up and check out their books. Aubrey Gordon. She's on Instagram as Your Fat Friend, but she has a couple of books that she's also written, anti-diet myths and things like that. Virginia Soul-Smith, Fat Talk. And it's specifically geared at parenting in the age of the diet culture. And there's several others. I love Sonia Renee Taylor. The Body is Not an Apology. Like it's so, that feels so good to be able to read her work. So like immerse yourself in some of the material that might flip some of the messaging that you've heard your entire life on its head. Right?
Well, and I think there's so much community and connection with what you're talking about, because the reality is, if we are going to tackle our own weight stigma or begin asking ourselves where it might show up in our lives, that can be a lonely road to walk. Right? And so I love this encouragement that you're giving, because there is a sense of like, oh wow, there are other people who are feeling kind of this necessary change that we need to make as a society. There's a point of connection, I think, in these experiences that we can start to have, which I think is so important as we like heal body image.
Yeah. Can I give one more example?
Of course.
Okay. So the Olympics, right? I can't remember if it was last year. My time is running all together.
Yeah.
But Ilana Marr, do you know, is she the weightlifter, the rugby? She's in the Olympics.
Yes. Okay. I think I read
her?
a story about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her, she lives in a fit body, but it's kind of a larger body. She is an Olympian and she has won medals, and she is considered obese in the BMI category.
Yeah.
And even just acknowledging how warped and insane that is.
Yeah.
Just to see where also this category BMI does absolutely nothing for us other than give us point A to point Z.
Like a little,
right?
like a mathematical
Yeah,
numbers.
like a mathematical, the folks that came up with it were not medical people at all, actually.
Yeah.
And so, right, it's doing absolutely nothing for us. So just, I don't know, I would say educating, unlearning, as you said, and practicing our own awareness into where our bias begins and where we can practice ending it.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, because when we start to do the work for our own body image, that is really the first step towards making change as a culture.
Yeah.
Right. And how we talk about or view other people's bodies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has just been a joy talking to you today, Ashley.
Thank you, Laura. I've been so happy to be here. I couldn't wait to come.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, I feel like we could talk for hours. So,
yes, agreed.
What offerings would you like to highlight? And then we will close with an affirmation and homework. So tell us about your practice. Tell us about anything you guys are doing.
So I'm real original with my practice name. It's Ashley Vicari Counseling.
I love it.
Name.
Yep.
So we're located in Bowling Green. We actually have an office in Bowling Green and an office in East Nashville here. And so we really work with the gamut of mental health disorders, but of course, eating disorders, body image is one of my specialties. I also work a lot with maternal mental health.
I love it.
I see this a lot, body image concerns coming
Of course.
up. Really for men and women, for anyone, when they're embarking on that phase and journey to become parents. And then I also work a lot with trauma. But again, we see kind of everything between me and our staff. Yeah. So one thing that I would want to highlight, and this has nothing to do with weight stigma or body image, but we do have a free virtual support group for single moms. And so it's on Fridays at noon. People can reach out. It's virtual and completely free. So
that's amazing.
The website is just ashleyvicaricounseling.com.
Yeah.
So you guys feel free to get in touch that way. We love serving the community. We also do something, I know a couple of people here in Nashville are doing it too, in Bowling Green, called the Community Closet. And so I get gently used or new clothing donated. And I have essentially a closet in our office where men and women, anybody can come in, try on clothing. Our bodies change, right?
Yeah.
As we're healing from eating disorders, as we're healing from body image issues, as we're healing from pregnancy, as we're going through menopause, our bodies change, and that's a natural process. It's very natural and normal. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're comfortable with it. And so the community closet is designed to have clothing of all sizes being offered so that folks can come in, try on things that work for their bodies, and leave with it. Yeah. I mean, it's completely a free service to anybody.
I love it.
So that's something else that we offer that I'm really, honestly, pretty passionate about.
That's amazing.
I want people to have clothing available to them that works for them, because it can feel really uncomfortable to be in clothing that doesn't work for us anymore. And based on finances, based on time limitation, the inability to get out there and get stuff. Yeah. So if you're in Bowling Green or North Nashville and want to come up to Bowling Green, you're very welcome to.
What an amazing resource.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you want to close with an affirmation or homework for our listeners today?
I would love that. Okay, I did just write a blog on weight stigma.
Yeah.
So it's on my website. And maybe, I don't know, if this is where you're starting, if this is the first time you're even considering this topic of weight stigma, and you want to start with yourself, one, I would encourage the Harvard Implicit Association test.
Yep.
You can just Google it. It's also on my website if you want to link to it. And then two, I might encourage head to the website, read the blog, and maybe journal about it. Share your reflections. What are your initial thoughts? What are your initial thoughts about this conversation that Laura and I are having? Like, just start there. And be kind to yourself. Yeah. Like this information that we have been taught has started from like a long time ago, decades. This is like a generational thing that we are trying to break, right? So be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself. If like this feels hard and uncomfortable to move with, to acknowledge.
Yeah, you're not alone in that, right?
No.
Because it is for a lot of people. Yeah. Well, thank you, Ashley, for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening today. We'll see you next time on the Becoming Anchored podcast. Take care.